Welcome everybody, and today I'm just trying something completely different. I'm doing a long-form audio review, as you can see here, spoilers of Invincible. And before I get into spoilers, I'm just going to say quickly, if you haven't seen the show, it's very worth watching. It's not perfect, but I would definitely give it like a high 8.5 out of 10. And with that out of the way, let's get right into the spoilers. I've got some notes written down here to talk about, and the first one is that I really love how this show is clearly a show for adults, with the gore and the more kind of serious tones, but it also has a cartoonish flair. It's a unique in between, in my opinion, where it's kind of got this whole sort of like goofy superhero-ness going on with the tights and the spandex and, comic books and whatever, but then there's also the gore and there's the kind of politics of everything, and there's sort of, all this dark past behind everything, like how Vulture actually is, for example, which we'll get more into that later. And, I just love that whole thing. I mean, you could even go to Omni-Man, where weirdly it feels less cartoonish than The Boys for me, even though The Boys is live action, because I don't know how to put it. Listen, I liked The Boys season 1, season 2 not that much, but anyways, Homelander's great, okay, but Omni-Man feels like a more realistic character, even though he's an alien from far, far away. Omni-Man just feels more realistic, and also just a character that I can understand better. Yes, what he says is abhorrent and horrible, and like I kind of, I hate his upbringing now on Vulture and whatever, and seeing that confliction was amazing. But anyways, seeing how he kind of does want to do good, but the good that he knows, whereas say Homelander is just pure kind of evil, misguided little brat, if you want to put it that way. Even though he's this big muscly guy, he's got like the mind of a little brat. Whereas Omni-Man, as misguided as he is, he's doing what he thinks is right, which I find very, very, very interesting. And I love a juxtaposition, but we'll get to that later. And I do have to say that the harsh reality that this show has within the cartoonish vibe, it makes the inspiring superhero stuff that does end up happening at times that much better. Like when they actually do succeed at something and they do synergize and things do go well, it feels a lot more like it feels a lot more earned, essentially, than compared to other series and other movies with superheroes. That's not me saying I hate superhero stuff. I've got a bunch of superhero Blu-rays, but I'm just saying, it definitely makes it feel more like just, yeah, chef's kiss, if that makes any sense. And then I just kind of want to get into what my theory was for why Omni-Man decided to kill the Guardians. What I kind of realized in that episode, and I was thinking about it, was, whoa, when he did that, Mark had pretty much just gotten his powers. And when Mark did get his powers, Omni-Man was like, oh, damn, this is a big thing. I got to do something now. You could see that on his face, right? And then he goes and kills the Guardian. So for me, it was a no-brainer that Mark had something to do with it. But I was like, what? What does he have to do with it? What's the scoop here? And I thought, I thought maybe his father's lying about Voltron, but I didn't really think that so much. I thought maybe, his father's gotten like corrupted over time, and he thinks, okay, now my son and I can rule this planet together, which I guess was sort of on the mark, but not exactly on the mark, because he does want to help the planet in his own way or whatever. But, it's more about the Guardians are weak, I had to kill them, and that I've got my son at my side, there's nobody who can stop us, and we're going to bring this planet to a better existence, which is really messed up way to think. But that was I feel good, okay, that I at least got part of why he did it right. And I didn't get the second half right, but I felt kind of big brain for getting at least part of it right. And maybe everybody had that theory. Maybe I'm dumb, I don't know. But anyways, and then I have to say, one thing that really impressed me about the series, one thing that was a surprise to me about the series, was how they did Robot's story arc, right? Because he comes in as very much the generic kind of, think of if Tony Stark made him type of robot character, where he's just like, I calculate the thing and I do the helpful thing, and I'm like, I do not understand human emotion. But then you realize he was actually this just very intelligent body, and kind of like a that's controlling the robot, right? And what made that more compelling for me is this guy basically had to pretend to act like a robot at times, if you get what I mean. Like, of course he wasn't faking how smart he was and stuff, but when he had to be like, you know, when he had to speak like a robot in terms of seeming very cold and calculated, he kind of had to put that on as an act. And he started to break that act down when he met the monster girl. I forget her name, but I found that very compelling. Not just their relationship that kind of ensued over the course of the series, but the monster girl in general. I just like her. She's actually one of my favorite characters from the show. Because I love how she's like this little girl, but you know she's actually 25. So out of nowhere, she's making like dick jokes at Rexplode and stuff like that, which I just found hilarious. And that she turns into this massive Hulk-like monster and can just beat him up. It's just, I mean, I love that sort of character. It's very creative in my opinion, and it's I don't know. She was just an endearing character because she had that sort of like um you know, spunky flair. Like she wasn't a pushover, but she also wasn't an asshole, if you know what I mean. So she kind of rode that line where I really liked her, and I liked her ferocity, but that it didn't turn her into kind of like an ass. You know what I mean? And that's also the interesting thing with Rexplode is he's just an ass the whole time, and I didn't find his character that compelling. I know what they were trying to do with like, oh, he wants to be better or whatever. But number one, as much as I love the dude who voice acts him, I feel like you can tell he doesn't have that much experience voice acting because it's probably out of all the voice acting in the show, it stood out as the most. Oh yeah, I can tell this dude is voice acting performance. Now maybe it was meant to be that over the top, but I don't know. I just felt it was a little too much personally for me. And then when they got this whole thing like, oh, I will be better, Eve, you know, where he does the fireworks thing, and you know, Eve's like, he didn't used to be like this. Okay, but what I want to know is, and maybe we'll know in season 2, why did he become the way he became? I feel like that wasn't very well explained. Yeah, okay, he had a bad childhood, but if he wasn't always like that, like after his bad childhood, if it took him a while to get to this point of being like an asshole, what made him that way? I feel like I wanted to know that, and the fact that the show wasn't telling me was a little annoying. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like that was just a bit, you know, expand on this, please. Expand on it on season 2. And don't get me wrong, I found Rexplode very entertaining to watch, but almost because I felt like it was kind of so bad it's good. Now, again, I give the show a very high rating, but Rexplode, yeah, I don't know how to feel about him if I'm being honest, because you know when you compare him to the people voice acting like Steven Yeun who played Glenn in The Walking Dead, J.K. Simmons, you know who I mean he needs no introduction, right? Mark Hamill needs no introduction. Gillian Jacobs, who played Britta on Community, she worked really, really well as Eve. And I don't know why. Weird thing, guys, was I heard her voice and I thought, is that the Kim Possible girl? I don't know, because I guess I hadn't watched Kim Possible since childhood. But no, Gillian Jacobs does not voice Kim Possible. I don't know why I had that thought, but I did. And I was wrong. But anyway, she's a great voice actor if this is like one of her first times. Anyway, and then Clancy Brown. Oh, I love hearing Clancy Brown with that deep voice, and you know, whoa. And I could be wrong, but I think he played 3 characters in this show. I think he played the blue clone guys, who I loved, by the way. Oh my! When they're eating the pie, when the what I think is the original is eating the pie, right? And he's like, yeah, pie. That was just the best stuff ever. I love them. They're kind of like anti-heroes because they're evil, but they also like, you know, get emotional about stuff. And then I don't know, I like them a lot, and they were kind of like laying low. I don't know, so yeah, I like them a lot. But I think Clancy Brown plays them. I think he plays Monster Girl when she becomes a big like a green monster, and then I think he plays the demon detective. I could be wrong. Maybe they're just all very similar sounding, but I think he plays all 3 of them. And I think if he did play all 3 of them, he did a phenomenal job playing all 3 of them, because it took a second rewatch of these episodes, or of some of these episodes watching with a friend, to realize, oh, I think that's Clancy Brown again. You know what I mean? So I think he did a phenomenal job. He's a phenomenal voice actor. So is Mark Hamill. I really love Mark Hamill's versatility, where his voice can sound almost the same. Like you can be like, that kind of sounds like the Joker, but then you're also like, but it doesn't. This guy sounds like a heartwarming uncle type vibe, even with a very similar sort of vocal register. And I think that's the thing is, we don't give voice actors nearly enough credit for being able to kind of transform the voice, even in the most subtle ways. And I don't know. That's why don't get me wrong, I love on-screen actors and they have their own talents, but there's something that's always gravitated me more towards voice acting than acting. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. But yeah, I just loved it, the voice actors, man. And I have to say, Eve, if we're on the topic of characters, okay? Eve and what's his name now? Mark, not Mark Hamill, Mark the character like Invincible. They were like they were amazing characters if you ask me. You know, they ran the trouble with Eve where she could have been way too just annoyingly like virtuous whatever, but I thought they did a perfect blend. Same with Mark, where he's kind of this hopeful character, but he has his moments of doubt. He has his moments of being down in the dumps, and he has his moments of relatability. Because even when he's doing bad things, you know, he's like, "Oh, I don't want to be a hero anymore," whatever. I felt like they handled it in a way where it was like kind of relatable. Kind of like, yeah, I get why you'd be like that. You got everything you wanted, and now everything seems to be going worse, and your dad is like this murderer and whatever. Granted, he didn't know that at that point, but you know what I mean. Like, everything in his world was turning upside down and getting harder for him. So I like that about him. And then when it comes to Eve, not only was the voice acting great, number one, I loved her interaction with Doc Seismic, where it's like pandering to gender roles, and she's like, "I made my own outfit." I thought that was a great interaction. And beyond that, I love her attitude near the end of the series, where she's helping ordinary people with like their farms and like all this sort of stuff. But then, you know, if there is a big alien invasion, of course she's going to help with that. You know what I mean? I really do like that, because for the smaller stuff, other heroes can handle the smaller stuff fine. They don't need her, in my opinion. You know what I mean? There's tons of like smaller B-list heroes that can deal with smaller things like bank robberies, whatever, okay? And she could go off and help communities. I think that's pretty cool. But then if there is a big alien invasion, or if Omni-Man's, you know, wrecking stuff, or there's like a big attack on whatever, then she'll help. And I think that's a great mix for her character, and it doesn't make her seem so removed from reality, where she only has this one goal of, you know, doing the super virtuous community help thing. Well, I guess they're technically both community help, but you get what I'm saying. And then that segues me pretty well into this character, Amber. Okay, Amber, I could not stand Amber. Okay, I kind of liked her at first. I'm not gonna lie. Before we knew much about her, when we saw how she reacted with, what was that guy's name? Todd or something. You know the jock character, and how she kicked him in the balls. I thought that was great, and you know how she talked to Mark about like, or you're like a lame-o who doesn't like girls who kick people in the balls who hurt them or whatever. Some line like that. Like I liked that a lot. I thought her character was shaping up to be pretty good. And then I don't know, I feel like they just put in all this forced stuff about, okay, like this is just my opinion, maybe getting a little political here, I don't know. All this forced stuff about like fourth wave feminism, which for me was like, I didn't even know there was a fourth wave. I thought like third wave was the most recent. What the hell is fourth wave? That sounds so out there to me. And then also like, you know, they're talking about the university, and she's like, maybe a bit fancy, but I heard they had a good social justice program, and I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It just feels like really shoehorned in there. It's like have her be doing everything she's doing. Like I can tell that you know, at least at first she was a good person, whatever, without you putting in all these lines about this, that, and the next thing. I don't know, it just felt kind of forced. But then I will say, there was a turning point for a character where I was just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know what I mean? Where she's like, nope, oh, Mark, I knew you were invincible, but the problem is, you lied to me. And I'm like, okay, it's been 5 months. I get it. Maybe she's allowed to be a little bit annoyed, a little bit. But let's be honest, in the course of a relationship, 5 months is not very long, especially when this is an identity that could put your family in danger, your mother in danger, right? And to me, it's just like, what if Amber was an undercover supervillain? And then Invincible told her too early, and then his family was in danger. You know what I mean? Like, like I don't know how she doesn't grab this concept of he's a superhero. He has to keep this identity secret, except with the people he mega trusts the most. And I don't know about you guys. Even if I've made a great friend for like 5 months, I'm not gonna super trust them. I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm the superhero. Or even if it was a girlfriend, that's just not. You know, that's just not. I just don't think that's really a good reason to get angry. Now, I kind of get her anger when she doesn't know when she doesn't know that he's a superhero. But when she knows, and she's still angry, and in fact that seems to be the cause of her anger, I'm just like, what the hell, you know? Like, and she's still mad about the soup kitchen after that. If you know he's a superhero while the soup kitchen thing is going on, because she said she knew for 3 weeks or whatever, if you knew that, then why are you mad that he misses the soup kitchen when he could be close to dead, he could be dealing with the alien invasion, he could be, you know, so many things, Amber, so many things. I'm saying, if you like Amber, that's fine, okay. And I actually liked her in the beginning too, but I just felt like the direction they took her character was super annoying, and to see them get together at the end was really just, ugh, I hated it, man. Because also when I look at Eve and Mark, I feel like they're a much better fit for each other. I mean, they're both heroes, so they understand the burden of it, you know. That's a big thing already. I just feel like they share more values. I don't know, and it just seems like the compatibility is better. I'm not gonna lie, to me, Amber seems kind of like a high school honeymoon period fling to me. No, I shouldn't say fling, but like, you know what I mean, like a girlfriend that's not going to last, even if there is a little bit of compatibility there. Eve, to me, seems like someone that Mark could easily marry. You know what I mean? And to be honest, with what her character became of just being super judgmental of Mark, even though he was doing his best for the human race, and he's only been a hero for 5 months. He doesn't know what to do, and people told him not to tell people, even Eve. So, you know, like, to be so critical of him was just, when she knows he's what are you doing? What are you doing? Anyway, sorry, I can rant on that forever because it just really takes my mind for a spin, that whole thing, man. So basically, in summary of that, Amber became annoying and Eve became a goat, if you ask me. And you know, that whole explanation of, you know, if you don't expect to see a superhero in your school, then you won't see one. That actually made a lot of sense to me, except for the fact that Eve calls herself both Eve and Adam Eve. You know what I mean? Like, at least have a different, like, at least don't have Eve in both of them, you know? But I bought it for the most part, but I was like, really? You're gonna have, I don't know, that makes it a little bit, because also she doesn't cover up, like, I don't know. I bought it for the most part, but there was also part of me was like, you really had to have Eve in both your, I don't know, dude. You know? anyways. Next thing I want to talk about is, I suppose, less spoilerific, but the animation in the show. Now, like, it's easy to be critical of the animation in the show because there are definitely times where it's not the best, where, like, someone goes from a frown to a smile, almost like they just went zoop, like they just turned up a slider. There wasn't really, like, you know. But that being said, this is the first season. It wasn't like a huge budget, and most of that budget went towards the voice actors, so they had to prioritize certain things. But what I will say is that the first flight scene with Mark was kind of not the greatest, in my opinion. Like, you could sometimes see that it almost looked like he was just being dragged around like a background, if you know what I mean, on those wider shots. And that's not me hating. Like, I really did enjoy the show. I'm just saying, I'm hoping in season 2 they get more money and the animation is better, because when it was fights, you could tell they put all the budget in that because the fights looked great. And even some of the emotional parts looked great too, like the most emotional parts that they needed for the show looked great. But definitely some of the stuff in the earlier episodes where there was less budget spent on it, I suppose, definitely looked rocky at times. I mean, one of the shots that stands out to me is when Mark's mom is showering and you just see a silhouette of her and she's not moving at all. She's like stiff, like a statue. That was a bit too obvious for me. I was like, you don't just stand completely still in the shower. You're going to sway a little bit. Your hair's going to move a little bit. You know what I mean? It was just anyway, those are just little gripes about the animation. But I think how the animation isn't perfect is kind of endearing in the show, because it shows if you've got a good story to tell, you don't need the best animation in the world. Now, it did have amazing animation at times, but there are definitely shows that I can think of with better animation, but that are worse shows overall in terms of entertainment value and story, if you get what I'm talking about. So, you know, animation isn't everything, but it is important, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make with that. You know, like, I don't know. And there was a part of that cheapness that it had at times that actually felt kind of fun, felt kind of like comic booky. You know what I mean? But that being said, I still want them to brush it up. But I'm just saying there was a fun aspect to it. Okay. And then we're getting, geez, can I speak? I can't speak. Um, then we're getting into the music in the show, which I have to say, besides the main theme, I liked the main theme, okay, but beyond the main theme, I have to say everything else is pretty forgettable music wise. And um all the songs they played, like third party songs, like licensed songs that they played over certain scenes, I didn't like that much. It made certain scenes feel too sappy. Like I remember there was a scene where they played a sad song over like Eve being depressed, and I just felt like this would be so much more powerful without the third party sad lyrical music. Do you know what I mean? I just felt like sometimes it was a little out of place, but that has always been a preference of mine. Where generally, I shouldn't say always, because there have been times where I have really liked there being a licensed song over a movie, but generally, I feel like it's best to just keep it to the soundtrack. Do you know what I mean? I can make exceptions when it's like it's a character listening to the song, or the song really fits. But overall, I have to say the music in this could get a little better, and I think they need to tone down the whole. Oh, this popular song is playing. Like, I don't know. That made a few moments a little less powerful than they could have been, in my opinion. So there's that whole thing. And then getting back onto characters, I want to talk about Mark's best friend. Now, I don't know what he's like in the comics, but I have to say he was pretty damn annoying in this show. It's like Mark just wants someone to talk to, right? And this guy, he's always missing the mark. He's always just saying the wrong things. And also, I don't know, man. I've had gay friends before, and I just feel like most of them do not talk like he does, in the sense of bringing up how sexy this guy is every 3 seconds. I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but if you're gonna make him a gay character, like, why are you making such an annoying one? Do you know what I mean? Like, why is it this dude who's always like going on about guys' looks and then going, oh, ooh, sorry, straight stuff? I mean, ugh, that's weird. I mean, imagine if a straight guy was doing that. Oh, ooh, sorry, gay stuff. Let's talk about gay stuff now. Like, I don't know. I don't know, dude. It's just, don't get me wrong. I liked parts of his character, but um, the way he would just miss the mark with Mark, pun not intended, actually, when like they're talking in the car or whatever, or just whenever Mark needs advice, he just seems to always get it wrong. I'm like, kind of a crappy friend at times. That being said, Mark was also a crappy friend to him at times. I will say that. I will say that. Like when Mark was prioritizing Amber over Mark's best friend's love interest. I forget the best friend's name. Okay, that was shitty of Mark. And yeah, I mean, okay. Yeah, that wasn't great. But what I will say is the love interest, I kind of wish he was the best friend of Mark. You know what I mean? Because, for the people who super care about representation, it's still a gay character in there, right? But it's one that's way more likable, a way just better person all around from what I could tell. Somebody who was way less snarky, somebody who was way more just upstanding and like, I'm not saying the other guy's a bad person, but this guy was just a better person, in my opinion. And I don't know. It was a shame to see him go so soon, to see him die so soon. Because also, that felt really weird to me how, like, it hadn't even been half an hour and he's already fully turned into this cyborg. This mindless cyborg. It's like, how quickly was this guy able to take out part of his brain and then add all these cybernetic parts? I don't know. It just seemed way too fast to me. But anyway, it was a shame to see that character go and then have this other character that I don't really like stay, or don't really like that much stay. I mean, he had his moments, I will say that, but whenever he was on screen, I wasn't like, yay, this character was on screen. I was like, okay, we can go to something else. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's kind of how I felt about it. And, I was talking about a robot's story arc before, and I know I just barely touched on it, but I want to get back onto it again and just say I loved the whole idea of him getting into his own, like, new body, which I know is like a younger version of Rex. Who cares? And I get that Rex was, like, um, annoyed about it or freaked out, sure, and I get what the robot did was weird, but I don't know. I felt for the guy, and I just felt like, let him live his life, and now he gets to actually have a relationship with this girl, and this also like fulfills the girl because it's like she said, the people who are interested in her are either pedophiles or I forget what the other thing was to be, or oh yeah, or are at the playground or something like that, or like kids. You know what I mean? But now they've struck this perfect balance where the robot guy is now a person with the mind of a 30-year-old in a young body, just like her. And if they're gonna have a loving relationship, I mean, that's just great in my opinion. That's just like so heartwarming in my opinion because I can only imagine how lonely that character must have been for however long now as she's been de-aging. And now that she can finally have someone in her life in a loving capacity, you know, I think that's just going to be super wholesome. And just, yeah, the fact that she'll be able to love someone again like that, and the fact that he'll be able to do it, I think for the first time ever, because I don't know if he was born like that or whatever, the robot guy, but like in that vat. But either way, it must have been a long time, and now he gets to experience that too. And I'm almost hoping, I'm almost hoping that with his scientific expertise, he finds a way to reverse that aging process and make her get older as she transforms, so that they age together, and then like grow old. Oh, that'd be amazing. That would actually be just such a great way for the series to go. You know what I mean? And then I want to talk about the Devil Detective. Okay. I know I'm all over the place on this, but there's so much to talk about in this show, even though it's only 8 episodes. There's a lot to talk about. I want to talk about the Devil Detective, who I'm pretty sure was played by Clancy Brown, because man, oh man, did he do a good job, and did I love his character for being this guy who's like, what did he say to Mark's mom? He said, something like, escaped from hell, trying to save other people's soul, or whatever he said. I thought that was really endearing of the character, and I think I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to go out on a limb and say he was my favorite character of the first season, and it was sad to see him go so early, I'm not going to lie, because let's be honest, he was the GOAT. He is part of what solidified Cecil's suspicions against Omni-Man, against Nolan. Is that Omni-Man? Yeah, Nolan, I think it is. And that Devil Detective guy, I just loved his demeanor. I loved his whole like kind of scary, but he's not trying to do anything bad. You know what I mean? It's kind of like they're just looking at the demon first and the person second. It's kind of like, oh, it's a weird form of racism, but it's always like you can understand it because the guy is like red with devil horns and a tail and shit. But it's like soon you realize, hey, this guy's trying to do good stuff. You know what I mean? So I really liked that. I liked that even though he had this devilish aspect to him, this demonesque aspect to him, it didn't make him like be like a super aggro or whatever. He's actually a pretty passive guy when you think about it. Yes, he had like a growling voice but he wasn't. He never attacked anybody. He never got aggressive. He just got kind of like suggestive about things and kind of like, you kind of seem like a dirtbag. I don't know, that kind of thing. And yeah, I guess that's why he's my favorite character. Plus, he had drip and trench coat and hat. You tell me that isn't drip? anyways. And then I want to talk about Mark's mom and just her whole role throughout the series, man. How it starts out with like how she's just this well, number one, I like that she wasn't just at home all the time. I like that she had a actual job of being a real estate agent. I thought that was really good, and that she yeah, I guess that she was more than just a mom, but that when she was a mom, she was the best mom. You know what I mean? Like she was one of the best fictional moms I've seen in a while. She consoles her son. She gets him under reins when he's getting a little power hungry at the beginning, and she even gets Nolan under reins at times. You know what I mean? And clearly, here's the thing. Nolan said, which was horrible, where he said, I loved your mother. I loved her like a pet. That made me angry, but I think he's lying to himself a bit there. Because if he loved her like a pet, after she found out, right, why did he not kill her right then and there? You know what I mean? He clearly loves her more than a pet. He's lying to himself to try and fulfill his Viltrum stuff. You know what I mean? His Viltrum obligations. But, you know, from how he was crying as he flew away, he definitely thought of her as more than that. I mean, yeah, I just thought she was not only smart, she was caring, she was loving, and she would stand her own ground against superpowered people, you know? And I liked that she was both understanding but also critical. Like Cecil. You know, Cecil, the greatest thing about Cecil for me was how he hated the decisions he had to make sometimes, but he had to make them because it was his job. You know what I mean? And I like that even though Mark's mom had moments of like being angry at him, she realized overall this is his job, this is what he does, this is what he has to do. And even when she was emotional after Mark was in the hospital bed and learning about, you know, Nolan, and Cecil comes up and tells her all this stuff that he's going to do for her, which I think really shows the integrity of Cecil. At first she's like, oh, you know, because she's emotional, but then very quickly she catches herself and she's like, no, thank you, what you're doing is very, very kind. And you know, I liked that. I would have liked to see more of that from Amber. Or maybe if Amber was very quickly like, angry, and then literally 2 seconds later was like, oh, I'm actually being a little bit dumb about this, aren't I? That's what I would have liked to see more from Amber. You know. Anyway, Mark's mom was another goat of the series, in my opinion. I mean, if I had to list my favorite characters in the show, for me, it would have to be oh yeah, that actually makes me think about the Guardians. I love how they're all, except for maybe Immortal, I love how they're all just such blatant ripoffs of characters. You know, Red Rush. Oh, I loved Red Rush though. This Eastern European guy who's like kind of like a sweet guy, but you know, still got that Eastern European grit. And you have to think, you know, when he got his head crushed by Omni-Man. And it was like, oh, you know, and it seemed like it took very, very long. I feel like that was only for him because he said to Olga that, you know, everything for me moves as slowly as you know, like as when he's running, for lack of better words. So when his head got popped, for the Guardians, that must have looked like 1 second. For him, it felt like 10, 12, 13, you know what I mean? So, damn. You know, damn, that really sucks. And it's just so funny how it's like, all their names are such ripple. Well, War Woman, Darkwing. I will say, I did like Darkwing, even though he was such a blatant ripoff. I did kind of like the girl who could kind of go, like, not invisible, see through, and then, like, put people in things and, like, save people. I don't know how to call her power, but I liked her power a lot. I liked the fish guy, too. I almost wish Aquaman was more like that, more like an actual fish person, you know what I mean? I don't know. I kind of like that more literal approach to it sometimes. But, you know, seeing them all die and all that, it was just crazy. It's like, I came into the show knowing it was, like, R-rated, but I still didn't expect to see them all get completely smashed up by Omni-Man at the end and just, like, guts and eyeballs and splatters and, you know what I mean? And intestines, and it was crazy. It was crazy. And ever since that point, the show kept that gory nature. Kept that gory nature. But anyway, back to who my favorite characters are. If I had to list them in no real particular order, I'd have to say Devil Detective guy, who I don't even know his name. Demon Detective, whatever. Demon Detective, definitely the main character. I actually really like him. You know, I think oftentimes you can make a main character way too white toast, like vanilla, but I liked him. I think he walked that line pretty well. So yeah, Demon Detective, Mark or / Invincible, the guy who makes suits just because Mark Hamill. What can I say? Mark's mom, Eve, and damn, who was the other one? I know I just said it earlier. Oh yeah, and Immortal. I loved Immortal because, oh man, when he comes back and he resists the collar, he rips it off and then he's like, I'll kill you, Omni-Man. Oh, dude, I was rooting for him. I knew he was going to get his ass beaten, but I was rooting for him that, you know, Invincible would realize early enough to go help Immortal, because Immortal put up a better fight against Omni-Man than Invincible did against Omni-Man. So imagine if Immortal and imagine if Immortal and Invincible went against Omni-Man together. Maybe they could have taken him out. Probably not, but maybe if there was enough synergy, just maybe they could have if they did it together, especially after he got weakened by that creature. But anyway, I mean, then we wouldn't have a season 2, so it is what it is, you know what I mean? And what I wonder when he flies away, also another one of my favorite characters is the dude who is like the alien inspector. Oh, geez, that dude was amazing. Urav. Man, I love characters like that. I love characters like that who are for comedic relief, but they actually have a job and they're actually, people too. I like that. I like that. Anyways, what was I talking about? Oh, yeah. When he flies away, what I have to wonder is, what's he going to do? Is he going to fly away, go into solitude? Is he going to fly away, bring the Voltron army to Earth? Is he going to fly away and then come back on his own and join their ranks? Is he going to come back with the Voltron army, but then, again, just before, let's say, killing his son or his wife, then he turns. Then he starts helping Earth, Who knows? I feel like there's so many directions it can go in, and I'm sure the comic readers know, but I don't know, okay, so that's kind of how that works. And, I'm jumping all over the place, but I want to go back to the Guardians dying. There was that Martian man. And he was, like, doing this, like, elastic stretch thing. With the homeless kid or whatever. That was very, very weird, but it was also so heartwarming. I mean, because also the dude who voice acted the kid was very, like, it just helped him, and I liked it. And, I don't know what to say, other than I liked his character despite how little time he had. And then when we go to Mars, and it's all filled with his people, dude, that was great. And then, okay, I will say the one thing that actually confused me about that. Was, so they leave the planet, and then there's clearly one of those things that's like blended into the guy's suit. But then how is the guy down there attacking Mars, like controlled by the brain things, but then also back on Earth? Because they all come back. So what happens? Does it get a strand of the guy's DNA, then go back down and clone him, and then is that how it works? I mean, I don't know. I felt like I could have had a little more explanation with that. That would have been nice. I won't lie, that would have been really nice. And then back on Omni-Man, one thing I really like about his character is how you get these subtle hints about why he's doing what he's doing throughout the show, and how he has this superiority complex as they come back from the funeral, and he calls them co-workers, and he's just like, let's have a pizza, and then he's also like, super speed, not one of your premier superpowers. I mean, talk about insensitive about a guy who just died. You know what I mean? And then how he's also like, are you questioning me? I was like, oh, jeez, what the fuck? What the fuck, dude? What are you doing? Damn. And I kind of like that she stood up to him. I like that she wasn't just afraid straight away. You know what I mean? But, I mean, if he went through with it, then she would have been afraid, I guess. But you know what I mean? I like that. But it was kind of sad to see, because clearly they were, when he was in, like, his human, like, version of himself, when Mark didn't have his powers yet, and he wasn't thinking about Voltron, because he only had to think about Voltron once Mark got his powers, you could tell he really did love her. And they were super in love, and they were, doing all the things a new couple would do, essentially. And I just, I want him to come back and become good, I'm not gonna lie. Both would be cool if he stayed evil, I guess, but I am rooting for him to break out of that kind of Voltron conditioning and become a good guy. Even if he can't atone from what he's done, because personally, I think, maybe he needs to be locked up after they've dealt with Voltron, but if he becomes a good guy and lives with his sins, I think that could be a very interesting dynamic to have there. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to rack my brain of what else is there to talk about in the show. I feel like I've covered a lot of it. I don't know. I liked how there was a lot of mature things that happened in the show, like when um, Rexplode cheated on Eve with Duplicate. That was, I didn't expect to see something in a show like this, even though it was 18 plus. I thought that was really cool that that was an aspect of the show. Um, and yeah, I guess I'm just. Oh yeah, another subtle hint with Omni Man was when he punched his son during training, and he was like, "This is what he needs." You know what I mean? And then we get more of that in their final battle, where he's like, "I'm gonna beat you until you come to your senses." You know what I mean? Think, Mark. That whole meme. So I'm surprised that became a meme. Anyways, I guess I'm not surprised, but I am surprised, but I'm not. But so that was very interesting to me, and I guess it was just great that it planted all these little seeds. That if you really paid attention, it makes sense. It makes sense. Um, how it was kind of an alter ego, but also not an alter ego. Like it was two sides of himself. His character kind of reminds me of a Reiner, actually, from Attack on Titan. Okay, Attack on Titan spoilers, I guess, but how Reiner becomes very loyal to, um, Eldia and, fighting the Titans. And he has like this split personality. I'm not saying Omni Man is split personality, but I say it's pretty close because they both have that aspect of, oh crap, which side do I choose? But then obviously with Reiner, it's like they call him a warrior, and then he's back into Marley mode. But you get what I'm saying, right? So I find that very interesting, and I wonder if we'll have a similar conflict within Omni-Man, where it's not like he joins one side or the other. It's almost like he doesn't want to live anymore, and he just wants to die. That could be a super interesting way for the plot to develop, in my opinion. But yeah, for me, in my opinion, if they're going to follow the comics, which I've heard the comics only get better, as long as they don't veer away from the source material too much, all I can see with this show is it just going up and up and up, and it just getting better and better and better. But we'll see. Because for me, sometimes a first season of something is my favorite. Like Game of Thrones, my favorite season is season 1. Daredevil, my favorite season is season 1, although season 3 does come pretty close. I love the first of a lot of things. I don't know why. I just, yeah, that's me a lot of times. Not all the time, mind you, but I'd say at least 50% of the time. I really like the origin, like thing, the first season. You know what I mean? Or the first movie, or the first game, or whatever. It's dependent on the situation and on the story. But quickly, one thing I forgot. I just want to make a quick mention to the two characters that I also really liked in the show. I forget both of their names actually. The one guy, he turned into like a rock man, and the other guy lost his powers and then got them back. I really like the Rockman's character. I don't know his name, okay, but I really like this character, and I want to see more of him. And I want to see if now that he's kind of become this mob boss, if he's gonna try and do good with it, or if he's gonna have to be someone that Invincible goes up against. I'm assuming the second one, to be honest. But he was a very compelling character, and I can't wait to see more of him. And then with the second guy, I like him because he's got that like stern honorableness, but I feel like he's not being used enough yet, and I hardly even know what his powers are. Besides super strength, I guess? I don't know. I want to see him more explored. Anyway, that was just a quick little mention to those two. Anyways, thanks everybody for listening, or watching, if I guess you watched whatever I've got up on screen here. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this kind of like audio review. I didn't really know what I was going to bring out this week, so I thought, hey, I've watched Invincible. I know most people have already talked about it, but let me just put out a long audio review and see what people think. And hey, I mean, it didn't take that much effort. I just had to write some bullet points and talks. I mean, if you enjoyed it, cool. If you didn't, hey, I mean, it is what it is. But anyway, thanks everybody for watching or listening or whatever. And I'll see you in the next one. Oh, and I should actually say, I am busy working on a longer, more high-effort video. Who knows when that'll be out? Could be next week, could be 2 weeks, could be 3 weeks. But yeah, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.